welcome back to Question and Answers with Dr. Dara Winley. I know it's been some time, but now I'm back with the jump off period. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about how to get more from your therapist. A lot of the times I've been hearing clients talk about, or people who are in therapy talk about, how they feel like their therapist is not giving them enough, not enough homework, not enough skills, practical things to do after or in between sessions. So I want to talk about how to interject and tell your therapist that you need more. Okay, so let's chat. Now, one of the things that I think is the problem is that there's so many therapists that are seeing different people throughout the day, and there's also clients who have gone through so many different therapists. And so now we all know kind of like, okay, who are we as therapists, and then also for the client, like, what do I want in a therapist, right? So we're kind of trying to navigate, this experience together. The problem is that I'm hearing when I talk to friends or even like my own personal experiences, I hear that they want therapists to do more, right? I want more homework, I want more feedback, I want you to interject, and I want you to share something and not just fill up the space for me to talk. Again, some clients really do just want to hear themselves talk about their concerns, and they really want to get it all out because there's not any other space to do that, right? And so the therapist opens that up, and is practicing their active listening skills and like trying to be present with the client. And the client is like, well, what do you think about what I'm saying, right? Like, can you say something, like, and so it's this weird tension that, we're all experiencing and trying to navigate. So I just want to normalize that for people who are like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, and especially for those who have said, I've already asked for more, right? And so today I want to give you some language on how to navigate that tension there. So something I like to suggest is definitely having ongoing dialogue about this. And I know it sounds like I gotta talk more. Yes, you do, and it's good because you're practicing your own communication skills and advocating for yourself on your own. But then also it like helps because it gives the therapist clarity and feedback, about what is working and what's not working. And so I would encourage you to ask. If you can talk to them the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes, or you can ask, or you could just send an email, right? If you're like worried, because I understand that there's a fear of like having ruptures in the relationship and not knowing how the therapist is going to receive information. So I understand like the fear or the hesitancy around that. But I definitely would encourage, number one, to ask to speak directly or share direct feedback, like, hey, and you can say it like this: I really appreciate it when you gave me homework. That was really helpful for me, right? Or maybe they've never done it, right? And you can say, hey, my friend told me that they're also working on this area, and I would love it if you could give me some exercises in between or after sessions, right? That would be really helpful for me to practice. So this is like for people who are looking for more resources and like wanting to have something to do more practically after and in between therapy. And then if you're like, I want you to talk more in therapy, you might have to give that direct feedback, right? So some language around that is, when I share something, I really appreciate it if you can be curious with me around what I'm saying, right? So you can ask me what I meant by that, or you can maybe share an insight about what you're thinking, because that helps me know that you are with me. You're listening to me. Like, I can see you shaking your head. Your body language is giving me all of that, but it will be really helpful if you name that for me. I really appreciate when people do that, right? So maybe they haven't done that in this space, but you can say, hey, this is a helpful thing for me to just know, like, someone is with me, as I'm talking to them. And you can also ask them if there is anything in their style that they might want to utilize to, like, because sometimes therapists are working from a particular model or a certain modality of treatment, and so it might be a certain phase where they are interjecting more and they are sharing more feedback, right? It just depends on where you are, and I just want to be cautious because I know all of us are working from a different point in therapy or and having different experiences in therapy, right? For instance, some people might be doing like a DBT program, or some people might be in an EFT, emotionally focused therapy. So there's different phases of what that might mean. And so sometimes it is like a lot of, in the first few sessions, a lot of information collecting and a lot of you sharing your history and getting more information. So it's not as much of the therapist talking. So that's why I said, if you want to check in with the therapist and say, hey, like, is there a certain point in which you do share feedback, because then that will be helpful for me to know, because that's what I'm looking for, right? Like I want to improve, I want to grow in the space, and ultimately I want to heal, and the therapist cares about that. They should care about that. And so it might be good because, again, this process is a collaboration, and so with you naming something, that can then give the therapist this indicator that, okay, the client cares about my voice, and sharing some information with them even in the in-between. And again, if you're just beginning therapy and you haven't gotten that far with them, this is a great time. Like, you have perfect timing right now to like help mold this experience, because again, you both are learning each other. And like I said, the therapist has all these other clients that they're seeing every day. And so if you can give them this insight, like, hey, this works for me, and saying it in that way to say, like, please do more of this, then you will have a better outcome, right? And even for people who have had relationships with their therapist, again, I know you might be a little hesitant, or you may not know, like, well, what will be the outcome. But I do suggest, again, saying like, hey, like, I really enjoyed this space with you, and I think right now in this time of my life, because it might be true in this season, in this space that I'm in, this headspace that I'm in, I want to hear more about what you think, and now that you've known me, you've gotten to hear all the things that I'm going through, I would love to know what you think. So again, both ends, if you're new or if you're still like, a returning client, that you can maintain, or you can communicate what you would like to see done and maintained in your sessions. So yeah, I hope that gives you some language. I know we're kind of all figuring it out. We have different scenarios, we have different contexts. Something I want to share, I really appreciated my therapist did, when I had switched to another therapist, I was looking for someone, and at the end of the first session, she was like, how did that feel? Like, what was that? Was this comfortable for you? Is there anything that you would take away or add to this session? And I just thought that was brilliant. And now I utilize that in my therapy as well. And when I'm training therapists, I like to share that as well, because I think that is so crucial for the clients to be able to have that space of giving feedback, right? And so, yeah, I want to definitely suggest to the therapists out there to make space, make room in the therapy environment for feedback, to hear from the client what's working, because naturally, they're not going to share every little thing with us, because we're trying to build this therapeutic relationship. So yeah, we all want to have a better experience. And so I hope that this was helpful. Please drop a comment, subscribe, like, share with this video if you know anyone who might be struggling with their therapist. Until then, I'll see you next time.